Let's go. Your Phoenix Suns get the 131-128 victory over the Utah Jazz in the in-season tournament, which, I'll be honest, kind of just feels like a regular season game. But I told a friend this earlier that we low-key need a Jazz-Suns first-round series because that would be a lot of fun. I just want to make sure that I'm quoting this correctly before we really dive into all of this, because Kevin Wayne Durant said this, that nobody played defense tonight. He actually said that after the game. Nobody played defense. There was just a lot of good plays out there, and guys were hitting big shots. Well, that's the end of the live show. That's all I got. Have a good night. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, great game. Can't wait to dive into it. You guys already know the drill. Make sure to let me know if we're looking and sounding good. Hulk smash that like button. This is just going to be a fun little reaction show. We're going to obviously talk about the game, dive into the numbers, and then we're going to talk about the Bradley Beal injury. I'll go just a little bit more into it, sort of on an optimistic side of it. And then we'll listen to something that Frank Vogel said before the game, not after, before the game. And then we got a couple other things we're going to talk about. So it's going to be a great live show. Everybody cannot wait to get this started. So once again, you guys make sure to Hulk smash that like button. Please subscribe because it really does help out the channel. Let me just take a sip of my water, y'all, and then we will get started. Let me know what you're drinking in the chat. Cheers. Delicious. For anybody who cares, I am on fall break all week. So I am planning on doing a whole bunch of live shows. Appreciate everybody that is tuning in and watching. Obviously, there's a lot of great Suns shows and podcasts that are on right now, and you guys are choosing to be here. And I really do appreciate you guys. Even the trolls and all that. I do appreciate y'all. All right, guys. Let's excuse me. Whoa. We're off to a good start here. There is a lot to talk about here. And like I said, you guys, this was a offensive showcase. If you are strictly a fan of offensive basketball and you hate defense, this was the game for you. Because if arguably the greatest scorer in basketball history in Kevin Durant, I mean, besides Steph Curry, is saying that this was an offensive game. And I just want to make sure I'm reading that quote right, because he said nobody in this game played offense. Like, he literally said that right as the game ended. If Kevin Durant is saying that, then you know no defense was played tonight. And that's sort of the tricky thing about tonight's game. I don't want to sound like a defensive expert or anything, but it was either really poor defense from both teams, especially the Phoenix Suns, who are supposed to be this defensive team under Frank Vogel. It was either a bad defensive night or it was just a really good offensive night from the Jazz. And we're going to dive into the numbers because holy cow, both teams were just shooting lights out. It was nuts. So speaking of that, before we talk about the brilliance of Kevin Wayne Durant, I'm not even joking, you guys. Both teams tonight shot, the Suns shot 52%, the Jazz shot 50%. The Suns had 18 made threes. The Jazz had 16. Let me repeat that. Both teams shot 50% or better, and the Jazz hit 16 threes while the Suns hit 18 threes. The Suns were 54% from three, which is incredible, and 44% for the Jazz. Both teams got to the free throw line a lot tonight, 88%, 83%. The Jazz won the rebounding battle, 39-36. Okay, you guys know me. I am really big on assists. You guys know that. I'm big on assists. I'm big on turnovers and all that, especially when the Suns have low turnovers. And tonight was one of those games. Now, in all fairness, the Jazz also had a low amount of turnovers. They had 8 turnovers. The Suns had 9. But guess how many assists your Phoenix Suns had? Just take a guess for a second. We had 35 assists. 35. And we're definitely going to talk about him. But guess who had 15 of those 35 assists? Devin freaking Booker. Holy cow. So you're probably like, okay, Suns Geek, we get it. What's the point? The point is that the Suns, at least in the last couple of games, are doing a better job of taking care of the dang basketball and are moving the ball around and getting great assists. 35 assists, y'all. That is huge. That's what I want to see out of my basketball team. Let me take a sip of my water, and then we're going to talk about Kevin Wayne Durant. Because holy cow, he had himself a game. And speaking of Kevin Durant, I need to update this drop and everything, but here is a pretty overdue for an update Kevin Durant drop. Yeah, those highlights are like way out of date, sort of. Okay, where do I even begin with Kevin Durant, you guys? Besides the fact that he, I believe, at halftime had 24 points on like 10 for 11 shooting or something like that. Kevin Durant finished tonight's game with 38 points, 9 assists, 9 rebounds on an incredible 15 for 22 shooting. Now, let me remind you, I believe he was 10 for 11 at the end of the first, or yeah, at halftime, I should say. He was 6 for 8 from 3. He had 9 assists and 9 rebounds. 38 points. I almost said 38% for some reason because I don't know what I'm talking about. Kevin Durant was freaking incredible tonight. You know, the Suns Twitter uploaded a little highlight where he did this kind of like reverse pregame dunk. And sometimes players just, you kind of just know when they're feeling it right away. And tonight was one of those nights. I believe he might have started off like 5 for 5. And I believe when he was subbed out around the 3-minute mark of the first quarter, I believe he was 6 assists and 5 rebounds away from a triple-double. And he almost had a triple-double tonight. David Ray says Kevin Durant is this game's MVP. Absolutely. Honorable mention to Devin Booker, though. But absolutely. And then Secret Agent Bart Fargo says Kevin Durant is doing exactly what a superstar should do for their team. Exactly. I don't even need to do this live show, guys. You guys are saying it in the chat. Kevin Durant was freaking awesome tonight, you guys. Go back and watch those highlights. He was getting to his spots, hitting anything he could, the defense allowed him to get. Hitting threes, hitting mid-ranges, being aggressive. Kevin Durant was incredible, you guys. Like, what else do I have to say? Like, if you don't believe that he's not one of the greatest scorers, if not the greatest scorer in the history of basketball besides Steph Curry, you're either just arrogant or you just don't know basketball, because he was incredible. And look, I know KD has only been with the Suns for less than a year. You know, February will be 1 full year. But he is one of the greatest players to ever play for the Phoenix Suns. I'm going to go out and say that right now. It's probably a hot take because he hasn't really accomplished much in the one less year that he's been here. But I'm going to say it. He's one of the greatest Phoenix Suns ever, just because of his resume entering, you know, the Phoenix Suns. But anyways, Kevin Durant was amazing. Harlem Vega says the Slim Reaper, that is Kevin Wayne Durant. He was incredible, you guys. But you want to know who else was incredible tonight? Devin freaking Booker. Devin Booker. You want to know what's crazy about Devin Booker? And I had to refresh the page to make sure I was looking at this right. Because early in the game, he wasn't shooting that great. And then just started cooking and started playmaking more for all of you. The Suns, we need a point guard. We need a true point guard. We need a table setter. Devin Booker said, okay, you know what? I'm not really shooting well right now. Kevin Durant's cooking. This is a non-defensive game. He said, you know what? I'm going to play make tonight. That's what he did tonight. 15 assists, which is a career high, by the way. 15. It's not every night where basketball players get close to 20. He was 5 assists away from 20. That's pretty damn impressive. And by the way, the most assists ever in an NBA game is 30, I believe, by Scott Skiles, I think. Devin Booker had 15 of those. 24 points, 7 for 15 shooting. And let me repeat that, at least in the first half, I believe, he wasn't shooting that great and still finished 7 for 15. Devin freaking Booker. I thought Eric Gordon was okay tonight. Hit 4 threes, 5 for 12 shooting, 14 points, 2 rebounds. Was aggressive. I like what Eric Gordon's been contributing to this team. That's just my personal opinion. I think he's looked pretty good. I'm glad that we picked him up. Well, obviously long overdue, but I'm glad that we got him. Grayson Allen can contribute some points. He had 10 points tonight. Now, he did play 30 minutes, so you kind of want him doing a little more than just 10 points. But, he has his highs and lows. Yusuf Nurkic. The inconsistencies continue for Yusuf Nurkic. But I'm trying just to believe in him. The Jazz don't really have like a true big man, but they do have like a lot of length and size. I know Walker Kessler, who's their second year man, has sort of had an inconsistent, sophomore season, although he had a great rookie season. And, they got Larry Markin and a couple other guys, but like they're not necessarily, they don't have like a Joel Embiid out there or Jokic out there, right? So you would have thought that Nurkic could have done a lot more. And I'm not saying he was like terrible in this game, but I didn't really notice too much Nurkic out there besides a few like post plays here and there. He finished tonight's game just 23 minutes, 15 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Now, I like the 4 assists, but he had 4 turnovers and 4 fouls to go along with that. But he did get to the free throw line 7 times tonight, made all of them. So little inconsistencies, but I'm trying to give credit where credit is due. Just hope he becomes more assistant. I hope he becomes more aggressive. But one exciting thing that I think we might be overlooking with Nurkic, and this is just my personal opinion, is the playmaking, because he can do it. I've joked around and said that he is point Nurk, and I'm looking forward to that. The playmaking is a real thing. And with this kind of team, with Bradley Beal, who we're going to talk about later, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, all these great shooters and everything, we need that playmaking. We need that spacing and all that. And secret agent Bart Fargo makes another good point. I mean, it's only 20 minutes, though. Exactly. And it's funny you say that too, because before you left that comment, I was thinking, I was like, there was like an extended period of time where like Drew Eubanks was on the court and Nazir Little got him a lot of minutes tonight. So maybe Frank Vogel was trying to experiment with things, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with that. So you guys are right. But shout out to Nurk, man. I'm trying to believe in him. He's our center, and I gotta believe in him. All right, you guys, let's keep going down, and then we're gonna dive into a little bit more numbers. I'm gonna read you guys some of the notes I have, and then we're gonna talk about some other things, obviously all NBA related. We're gonna talk about Bradley Beal. I have a small Utah Jazz segment I want to go on. I'm gonna read a couple tweets and everything. Maybe we'll react to what Frank Vogel and all them said after the game and everything. So, all right, let's see here. I just mentioned Drew Eubanks, who, in my personal opinion, provided some good minutes tonight. 21 minutes tonight, made all 5 of his shots. One of those was a corner 3-pointer, by the way. So Drew Eubanks on the season is 2 for 2, 100% from 3. Drew, if you're wide open, man, just shoot the damn 3. I don't even care if you miss. Just shoot the 3. I'm not even joking. Just do it. You're 2 for 2 on the season. Also had 4 rebounds, 11 points. And I think I didn't read the full quote or hear the full quote, but I think Frank Vogel said something along the lines of like, excuse me, that he wants the Suns to like throw Drew Eubanks more lobs. And I'm totally fine with that because his athleticism and his sneaky hops, you know, he's had those poster dunks this season, those kind of crazy dunks that we've seen. I'm okay with that. And there was a couple of lobs, I believe, tonight that he got. So he's providing good minutes off of the bench. I like his consistency. Keita Bates-Diop. I know I said I was going to go to my notes later, but I have a couple of notes on Keita Bates-Diop. Now, he did get into foul trouble, especially in the first half, which I believe he cleaned up later in the second half, but just a couple quick Keita Bates-Diop notes. And I guess I'll start with a Euro step and one that he had. Might have been in the second half. He was driving in, did a Euro step, got the and one. That was absolutely beautiful. It's kind of those plays that he does that doesn't necessarily stand out too much. But first off, that Euro step was very nice, and then he did draw the and one. But another play that might get overlooked here because Kevin Durant hit the big 3, and I even tweeted this and wrote it down. Keita Bates-Diop had a really clutch block near the last final seconds of the game. It wasn't like necessarily a game-saving block, but it was just a clutch block that he had. And that's what I love about Keita Bates-Diop. Just like those little things that he does. The versatility. I love that, man. Shout out to Keita Bates-Diop, man. You know, you obviously want to stay out of foul trouble. You might want to be a little bit more consistent on offense and everything, but the dude's working his tail off. You know, he's a good defender and everything. I love what I'm seeing out of Keita Bates-Diop. I take back anything bad I said about him. I'm jumping on his bandwagon. So shout out to Keita Bates-Diop, man. Nazir Little, you know, only had 5 points tonight, but I thought he provided some good minutes out there. Jordan Goodwin, little inconsistent, 1 for 6 from the field. You know, he's a dog on defense. Josh Okogie didn't do too much. And then let me just make sure I'm not missing any key numbers here. Like I mentioned, Suns shot 52% tonight from the field. We hit 18 threes, good enough for 54%. 35 assists, 9 turnovers, and 42 points in the paint. Our largest lead was 14. And this was an up and down game, you guys. Let's be real. This was a fast-paced offensive game. Kevin Durant even said that after the game. And, you know, usually we give a lot of crap to the referees. And yes, there were, you know, 23 fouls for the Jazz, 22 fouls for the Suns. But in some sequences and some moments, they were letting the guys play, which I liked that. This was kind of a low-key, like chippy, physical game, and I like that, man. That's what we need more of, especially on these national TV games. Like, let the guys play. I'm all for that, man. SRTD Will says we just need to work on our defense. Yeah, like I'm gonna need to go back and look kind of at these highlights because again, I don't know if it was just a bad defensive night from the Suns or if it was just the Jazz were hitting really good shots. Like, I don't know. And I kind of want to say it was a bad defensive night for the Suns because we've seen a pretty good defensive night from the Suns here and there. And I don't think we saw this tonight. But, you know, that takes time to kind of work out the defense and everything. All right, you guys. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to read you guys just a couple of notes Then we're going to talk about Bradley Beal and the back injury and my positive take on it, if you will. We're going to listen to something that Frank Vogel said before the game. Then maybe we'll listen to what Frank Vogel had to say afterwards. And then just a couple other small things. Maybe we'll do a quick jazz segment, and then we'll probably get out of here. So this is how the Phoenix Suns started the game. By the 9:25 mark of the first quarter, we were up by 10 points. We were on a 12-2 Phoenix run. It was crazy. Like, shots were just falling. I thought this game was going to be over early. Kevin Durant hit a 3. Booker had a 2. Nurkic had free throws. Grayson Allen hit a 3. Booker had another 2. Nurk had a layup, followed by a KD 3. The shots were falling like crazy. And then Jordan Clarkson and Keontae George, who, by the way, I got more thoughts on Keontae George later. Just one of those games, man. The Suns were pushing the pace, attacking the rim, hitting shots, just allowing the Jazz defense to give them whatever they wanted, you know. Like I mentioned, Kevin Durant was absolutely incredible. Couldn't miss for most of the game, especially in the first half. Devin Booker had 6 assists in 6 minutes. Larry Markkinen had that incredible block where Booker went up for the poster and then got blocked. There was a couple of those like big time blocks tonight, by the way. I mentioned the Keita Bates Diop Euro. That was really nice. That Euro step and one. And yeah, I guess I'll just save the rest for the Jazz segment because a few of those notes were on the Jazz. I just think the defense just needs to be better and more consistent. And I'm sure Frank Vogel is talking to them about that in the locker room. And it is something that the Suns are going to need to do because even without Bradley Beal, you still got Kevin Durant, you still got Devin Booker. They can give you 60 a night or more, plus all these other shooters once they find their shot. So I'm not worried about our offense. We really do need to be more consistent on defense. And Nefarious Mex kind of says it perfectly here. Suns always blow leads, especially, I was going to say especially in the first half, but really just throughout the game. So many times tonight, the Jazz went on so many different runs. And now, in all fairness, so did the Suns, but like, you don't want the Jazz going on runs, especially in Utah with that loud crowd, you know. It's about the Suns blowing leads and not holding on to them and being consistent with their defense. That's what I'm sure Frank Vogel and his coaching staff are talking to about the Suns. I hope so, anyways. I hope that's the message after this game. Now, in all fairness, you can even go back and look at the ESPN broadcast. Kevin Durant said it. I wrote it down that nobody played defense in this game. He said this was an offensive game. The Jazz were hitting tough shots, making good plays. It was just one of those games. Now, I don't know if he's just trying to cover up for the Suns' bad defense or if he straight up said nobody played defense. I don't know. I don't know, you guys. Okay. So before we before we go on the Bradley Beal kind of segment here, and what I feel is the overreactions to the Bradley Beal stuff, we are going to listen to what Frank Vogel had to say after the game. Dwayne Rankin just posted this, and then we're going to listen to something he said about Bradley Beal before the game. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and listen to Phoenix Suns head coach Frank Vogel after the game. Got a nice smile on his face, probably in a good mood. And let me just put on my headphones real quick. There we go. Give me a second here, you guys. By the way, the Suns just tweeted that Booker had 24 points and a career high 15 assists. Can we just acknowledge once again that Devin Booker had a career high 15 assists? It's amazing. Shout out to Dwayne Rankin, man. for uploading these clips. You know, he travels and covers the team even when they're, you know, in different states and all that. So shout out to Dwayne Rankin from the Arizona Republic. And let's listen in on what Frank Vogel had to say after the game.
Thoughts on seeing what he did tonight?
Yeah, hit a bomb and won the game. You know, it was a
Kevin
big
Durant.
time shot by a big time player, but he was really terrific the whole night. Going at halftime, 10 for 11. You know, really carrying us and you know, making some defensive plays as well. But you know, for him to go 9 assists, 1 turnover while he's putting up that type of scoring production is just a very, very impressive performance.
And obviously, Devin, you know, Kevin was joking that you got your point guard back. When you see 15 assists, 1 turnover, that's what a point guard does, right?
You gotta stop calling him one of the best shooting guards in the league. You know, he's a point guard now, so he's playing like it. We're also scoring the ball as well and leading us. You know, 15 assists, 1 turnover, and 24 assists, 2 turnovers by your 2 star players. Can't ask for a better night than that.
Another thing I had was defensively. I know you would like for it to be better. What do you feel like Utah was doing, and maybe what you guys weren't doing on that?
Well, they become harder to guard when Collins is at the 5. You know, that's all we talked about for 2 days. That this is not going to be the same group we saw, you know, a couple weeks ago in Phoenix. You know, it's going to be really hard to bring double teams to Clarkson, and we saw that tonight. You know, there's a lot of areas we can be better, and we'll get in the film room and on the practice floor and work to improve our guys because we weren't good enough. But we did hold them to 53 in the second half. I think using Nas Little helped us with that side of the ball. He's an example of why everybody on the team has to stay ready because your number may be called for whatever that game, you know, may need. And I want to shout out my centers as well. Those guys combined for 26 points, 11 boards, and you know, that's an all-star performance from a tag team, right? You know, that type of production. So those guys were great too.
Real quick, you guys, I want to kind of replay the final half of what Frank Vogel said. He said some really good stuff right there. Let's listen into what he said kind of at the second half right here.
This is not going to be the same group we saw, you know, a couple weeks ago in Phoenix. You know, it's going to be really hard.
Wait for it.
To bring double teams to Clarkson, and we saw that tonight. You know, there's a lot of areas we can be better, and
there's a lot of areas where we can be better. He's talking about the defense, and then
we'll get in the film room and on the practice floor and work to improve our guys because we weren't good enough. But we did hold them to 53 in the second half.
We weren't good enough on defense, but we did hold them to 53 in the second half. Reminder, both teams were tied at halftime at 75, which somebody fact check me, by the way. I swear to God, they said on the broadcast that like that was one of the only times where both teams had 75 points at halftime. Crazy, but that was a big takeaway by Frank Vogel. Let's keep listening though.
I think using Nas Little helped us with that side of the ball. He's an example of why everybody on the team has to stay ready because your number may be called for whatever that game, you know, may need. And I want to shout out my centers as well. Those guys combined for 26 points, 11 boards, and you know, that's an all-star performance from a tag team, right? You know, that type of production. So those guys were great too. Little.
Real quick, he mentioned Nazir Little, who I also noticed contributed some really good minutes tonight, which I agree with him. He said, you know, next man up, you know, you got to be ready at all times. And Nazir Little did that tonight. I know he didn't really stand out on the scoreboard, but gave you those minutes, played some good defense out there.
Helped us with that side of the ball. He's an example of why everybody on the team has to stay ready because your number may be called for whatever that game, you know, may need. And I want to shout out my centers as well. Those guys combined for 26 points, 11 boards, and you know, that's an all-star performance from a tag team, right? You know, that type of production. So those guys were great too.
Frank Vogel knows basketball. I love it. That was such a great little post-game interview. I'm so glad we reacted to that, you guys. Now, look, let me take off my headphones here. I'm going to go on my little positive, optimistic outlook on this whole Bradley Beal thing. And I know I'm going to get killed in the comments for it because Because trust me, I glanced at my comments earlier from the Bradley Beal video that I did, and there's so many negative comments. I've already seen people say, we need to trade Bradley Beal, and Bradley Beal's a bust, and blah, 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 Bradley Beal this, Bradley Beal that. Shut up. Just shut up. To all the negative, pessimistic Bradley Beal trade haters. You know what? Maybe I'm cocky. Maybe I'm arrogant. Maybe I'm a homer. Bradley Beal can take all the damn time he wants to come back. Bradley Beal can come back after All-Star break if he wants to. He's not going to do that, but if he wants to, he can. I'm going to defend him. Sorry, Gambino, but I'm going to defend him, man. Let's talk about Bradley Beal just for a few minutes. I just have some quick thoughts on this. I mean, I kind of said what I said earlier in the video. Go check that out, by the way. It's on my channel right now. It's more like a reaction video, so hopefully you guys like that. But, I mean, let's be real. Like, yes, it sucks. It sucks that we're not going to see Bradley Beal for 3 weeks, maybe longer, maybe less. I mean, they said he'll be reevaluated in 3 weeks. So that sucks. And look, in all fairness to the fans that I'm trolling here, in all fairness to the pessimistic fans, to really all Suns fans, and heck, in all fairness to all basketball fans who were looking forward to Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker sharing a court together. In all fairness to you guys, I'll humble myself for a minute. I get it. It sucks we're not going to see them for a while, right? Because do not forget, and I talked about this last live show, what we did to that Pistons team in the first quarter of our first preseason game. I believe it was like 48 points in one quarter. But that is sort of my little like touch of hope and optimism with our big three. And even nights like tonight and last game, how we were just straight up cooking and Bradley Beal wasn't even on the court. We had 48 points, I believe, in this first quarter. That tied our season high, I think. 75 points at the end of second quarter. And I know people are going to be like, oh, well, the Jazz had 75 points too. I'm talking about the Suns. We had 75 points at halftime without Bradley Beal. That's my optimism. And yes, it sucks he's injured. Yes, the back problem injury is I get it. I do notice it. Even though on like Twitter and on social media, I'm deflecting that injury, but like I am aware it's happening. But like I can't control it. I can't control injuries. And it sucks that our third star player, Bradley Beal, is injured, but like I'm just holding on to that little optimism that when he comes back 110%, that like we will literally be unstoppable. Now I sort of have a weird, like, I guess theory that it might take him a couple of games to be 100%, but like before he was officially out, I swear to God, that second game, he was looking 75%. But he might have went a little too hard, and that's probably where the back injury happened. So I just hope that he rehabs, 100% and everything's okay and he comes back. But like I said, the overreaction by Suns fans is a little too much. And I don't want to sound like the Suns police here. I don't want to sound like the Suns gatekeeper of fandoms, but trust me, I see the comments. I see the DMs. I see the Twitter mentions and a lot of overreactions. And I wanted to read a tweet that I retweeted, quote tweeted, and I want to shout out Gerald Bourget here. Now, let me just zoom in so you guys can see this here. By the way, follow me on Twitter. Let's see if this works right here. There we go. Okay. Gerald had a great tweet earlier. For all of you people who are saying, we need to trade Bradley Beal, blah, 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 blah. This is the worst trade ever. Settle down, Suns fans, because Gerald said it perfectly right here. And this is the tweet. A large portion of Suns fans were, quote, dying to move on from CP3 and Landry Shamet. Can't turn back around all doom and gloom like it was a bad deal now. 2, even if, quote, trade Beal, end quote, was the prudent path, it's not. He has a no trade clause, so stop it. Then he followed that up by saying, because of his skill set, Bradley Beal's a great plug and play star. Hopefully the adjustment process once he's back won't be too lengthy. The improved pace we're seeing and point book taking flight is a direct result of the Beal trade. Can't just leave that out of the question. I 110% agree with Gerald Bourget. Shout out to PHNX, by the way. I've been on their podcast once before. It was an incredible experience. And he's spitting facts, man. But it's not just Gerald who's saying this great stuff. I'm actually zooming down on my Twitter right now because I retweeted some positive tweets earlier about the Bradley Beal stuff that I 100% agree with. One of those came from Zona Hoops, AZ Sports Zone on Twitter, a great follow. And he said this. He said, it's all right to be frustrated, but they have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Beal missing games in November shouldn't equate to the world ending. They will be just fine. And then somebody responded to me on Twitter, Rob, it's at show must go on with like underscores and zeros. And he said this, it's honestly better. I'll just share the tweet so y'all can see it. So Rob, if you're watching, you're getting a Twitter shout out. Give me a second here, you guys. He said, it's honestly better just to let him get it right over several weeks instead of will he play, won't he play, question, play one game, tweak it. You guys know what I mean? Like plays one game, misses 3 games, plays 2 games, misses 5 games, right? Got to get it right. 3 weeks is 11 games. We will be fine. And I retweeted that because I believe it. I would rather have Bradley Beal miss as much time as he needs and then come back 100% healthy without the question of, oh, is Bradley Beal playing tonight? Is Bradley Beal healthy? Is Bradley Beal looking good? I would rather have him rehab his back, and then be back 100%. Speaking of that, before we kind of move on here, this is what Frank Vogel had to say before the game. Keyword, before the game, on Bradley Beal's back. Now, it's nothing really like groundbreaking necessarily, but I do kind of want to re-listen to what he said. So let me just share my screen real quick, guys, and then we'll listen to this. Then we're going to do a quick Jazz segment. Yes, I know this is a Phoenix Suns show, but I do want to talk about the Utah Jazz and everything. And then we'll react to a couple other things, and then we'll wrap up the show, you guys. All right, so here is what Frank Vogel, as you guys can see my screen, I believe. Frank Vogel was talking about Bradley Beal before the game, talking about when the issues might have first started, and quote, playing in the game was slowing down his progress for really trying to put this thing behind him. So let's listen to what Frank Vogel had to say about Bradley Beal before the game.
Just Bradley obviously being out for the 3 weeks. Just how are your reaction to that news?
Yeah, it's the right plan. You know, we want to put this thing fully behind him, and playing in the games was slowing down his progress. You know, for really trying to put this thing behind him, and we don't want to do the play a game, be out a game, play a game, be out a game. We want to try to get this thing fully behind us. I'm
curious, was this even discussed maybe when it first happened with him, like this process of actually doing what we're doing?
Yes, okay. And we thought we were there, but we weren't quite there yet. So okay. He was obviously we all were, but he was very eager to get on the floor, especially to play his first game for the Suns, and but we weren't quite there yet. So we want to try to put it behind us.
Booker and Eubanks both in today?
Yes,
And who are you starting?
same way.
Okay.
Last game.
At last game. Okay.
Actually, I'm starting LaMelo Ball and Gordon Hayward, and I thought I was coaching the Hornets. Jersey's
Color scheme, yes.
Ball and Gordon.
Frank Vogel wants to trade for LaMelo Ball and Gordon Hayward. Listen to Frank Vogel.
Hayward and
Wait.
Okay. At last game. Okay.
Actually, I'm starting LaMelo Ball and Gordon Hayward, and I thought I was coaching the Hornets.
Trade for LaMelo Ball and trade for Gordon Hayward. I'm just kidding. Well, maybe trade for LaMelo. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, that's pretty much what he said, I believe. I think the rest was just starting five talk and all that. But again, shout out to Dwayne Rankin for the great clips and everything. He's a nice guy. I've engaged with him a few times and everything. Great guy and everything. Just great coverage on the Suns. And it's good to have somebody actually go to the away games and be able to talk to our coaches and players and all that. So shout out to him, man. Okay. Even though I've been optimistic about the Bradley Beal thing, this is just kind of my final thought on it before we move on. The only thing that was sort of a red flag was when Frank Vogel said, like, oh, the games were like slowing down his progress or something like that. Like, I think what he pretty much was saying was like, I mean, he's obviously not going to say this, but like, he wasn't fully healthy, or like he wanted to see what the back was how it was going to feel like. You know what I mean? Like, it was weird. Like, I'm not saying Bradley Beal wasn't 100% healthy, but the way he said, like, oh, it was slowing him down. Him playing in the games was slowing him down. You know, the back injury and the healing and the process. I was like, oh, it's kind of a red flag, I guess. But I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not the team physician, and I'm not on their medical staff. They know way better than any of us will be. So you people in the comments are going to be like, Bradley Beal should have never played. Like, I don't know. Like, we don't know what's going on. And he did look pretty good. Like I said, there was that second game that he played in where I thought he looked like 75%. So like, but maybe he went a little too hard. Maybe he re-injured it. I don't know, but that's my only kind of takeaway from that. I guess final takeaway. But anyways, you guys, I'm staying optimistic about the Bradley Beals. Or not optimistic. I'm staying positive, if you will. Trying to put on a strong face for the Suns fans out there, and just trying to focus on the team that is on the court right now. I can't control injuries. Bradley Beal is here for the foreseeable future. We are not trading Bradley Beal, and I'm happy that he's on the team, okay? All right, this segment is for the Jazz fans, if there is any Jazz fans watching. First off, I'll start off with a negative thing on the Jazz. Oops, I just hit my microphone. And yes, I took some notes. First off, I was wrong about the Jazz. Sort of. It's still early in the season, but I believe they've lost like a lot of games since I went live with Matthew Lissy from the Suns Jam Session podcast. They've lost a lot of games since then. I thought they were going to be a lot better than they were or are, I guess. Probably because they overachieved last season and then kind of fell off at the end. And in all fairness to the Jazz, they are sort of in year 2 of this. I know rebuild is the popular word, but I would say like a retool, redirection of this franchise. Because obviously they traded away Donovan Mitchell, they traded away Rudy Gobert, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like a very strong retool. But they did overachieve last year. They had a great start to the season. They won a lot of games, and they kind of fell off at the end. But what I'm getting at here is you at least have some kind of a building block in Lauri Markkanen, who, by the way, was an all-star last year and played great last year. Now, even though he's had a slow start to this year, you have another sort of building block-esque in Walker Kessler. You have one of the best scorers in the game, Jordan Clarkson, who lit it up tonight, by the way. And then maybe, now it's early in the season. I wrote down some notes here. Maybe you have a guy named Keontae George who you probably are going to keep for the foreseeable future. And that's not just my words. That is what their head coach, Will Hardy, said tonight. And I quote, "He is a stud and he is a big part of the future." Keontae George is that guy you've never heard of before tonight who was lighting us up. You know, when the Suns went on that like 12-2 run, it was Jordan Clarkson and Keontae George that slowed that down. And I wrote down that there was one play where Keontae George like drove in on Devin Booker like a man, kind of threw an elbow a little bit, drove in, and just scored it on Devin Booker. That's a rookie, man. Will Hardy called him a hoops head, said that he goes home and just watches League Pass. He's always, you know, it's all basketball for him. He called him a stud, man. And it's sort of those like little pieces like a Keontae George that you're going to need for the foreseeable future. And then one other play that I wrote down was like, this might have been like near the fourth quarter, was I think it was like a loose ball. And I think it was Kevin Durant, or no, it might have been Keita Bates-Diop. There was a loose ball. Keontae George was fighting for it, but it was Keita Bates-Diop and Grayson Allen also fighting for it. And Keontae George like kept the dribble alive and got the ball, put in that extra effort to save the ball. And that's the kind of plays that like fans appreciate, just like that little stuff. And again, the dude can score, man. He was lighting it up tonight. Like I clicked out of the stats, so I forgot how many he finished with, but the dude can score. I forgot who mentioned this, and I know it's not really fair to play the comparison game, but somebody said he's Anthony Simons-esque, you know, the guard from the Blazers. He's like him, like a smaller kind of guard, you know, that can just straight up score. Now, I'm not a big college guy. That's an understatement. I know nothing about college basketball, but I heard his resume on the broadcast today. So shout out to Keontae George. Literally kind of showed himself to the world tonight. So before we get out of here, you guys, we're going to react to two things before we get out of here. The first one that we're going to do was earlier today, former Phoenix Sun, for you real fans who might remember. Do you guys remember when Jamal Crawford played for us? And I believe it might have been like one of the last games of the season when he dropped like 51. I remember making a video that night about that game. Appreciate my guy Casey being here. Shout out to Harlan Vega. Shout out to Top Notch. Appreciate you all being here. Yeah, Jamal Crawford, 51 points, played one season with the Suns, I believe. He was on Twitter earlier and was asking people just like, hey, ask me a question. And I was like, oh, I'll ask a question. And I asked him thoughts on the Phoenix Suns season so far. And guess what? He responded. Jamal Crawford responded to my tweet. And Jamal Crawford said, and I quote, let me pull this up. Sorry, guys. One man show here. You guys know the drill. You guys know how it is. Take a shot for how many times I've said that this season. Jamal Crawford said this: I think they'll be there in the West Finals in the end. They need health and they need health and to continue with their chemistry. That's from Jamal Crawford, who, how many Sixth Man of the Years did he win? Like 3? And played multiple, like tons of years in the league. Really knows basketball. Like I've listened to him on NBA TV. He's great. The dude like lives and breathes basketball, and he responded to my tweet and said this about the Suns. Hell freaking yes. And then I actually responded to his tweet with a picture of him and Booker high-fiving each other, saying, I appreciate the answer, at J Crossover on Twitter. And somebody in the chat just says, Jamal Crawford was a legend. He really is, you guys. Like, take that from somebody that studied the history of basketball. The dude was an elite scorer, a great role player. I mean, again, you know, 6th man of the year and all that. Just a great contributor to the game of basketball. Was fun to watch. Had a killer crossover, great handles. Fun player to watch, man. Shout out to Jamal Crawford. All right, guys. Final thing we're going to react to. And shout out to Suns Uni Tracker on Twitter, who is going to be designing a new Suns jersey every time a Suns player scores 30 plus games. And here is, let me just share this. Here is the jersey. Now, he put a little specific thing in there, and I think I know what he's talking about. He said, had to put a special spin on this one. If you know, you know. KD been vintage tonight. Sheesh. Now, I think he did this jersey. Obviously, it's Diamondbacks inspired, right? Because the Diamondbacks just came out their new jerseys and everything. I believe he did this one specifically for that and because of the color scheme. Because if this would have been the Diamondbacks colors, I believe a lot of Diamondbacks fans would have been a lot more happier. So that's pretty cool. Shout out to him. Going to be uploading a new jersey every time a Suns player gets 30 plus points. Casey says, did you also react to Suns illustrated design? I did not, but I will pull that up in a second here. But yeah, shout out to Suns Uni Tracker. Great work there. You know, just a great guy. I've DM'd him a lot and stuff. Great Suns fan and everything. And yeah, shout out to him. So let me pull up Suns Illustrated real quick. Let's see what he uploaded. I must have missed this. Oh my. Okay, Casey, I don't know if this is the one you're referring to. And y'all might think I'm crazy, but I like this one. You guys know I'm a big hat person. That is freaking fire right there. Sorry, you know, I hope I'm not like taking this away from Suns Uni Tracker, but holy cow, that is sick. If that was a hat, ooh, I would buy that in a second. Dude, that is so cool, man. Yeah, Casey says he's doing a design after everyone. That's so cool, man. I love that. All the vintage Suns logos, every logo we've had, I believe. That's so cool, man. I got to retweet that. Go follow Suns Uni Tracker. Go follow Suns Illustrated right now. Just search Suns Uni Tracker. Search Suns Illustrated. Go support their work because that is freaking awesome. All right, guys. I think that's it. If you got any final like questions, comments, get them in right now. I'm kind of tired. For anybody who cares, I am on sort of a vacation. I'm on Thanksgiving break from my other job because outside of this YouTube stuff, I do have another job. Help pay the bills, you know, keep the lights on around here. But I'm off like all week. So I'm hoping to do more live shows, more videos, you know. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it, you guys. This was a good show, though. I'm glad I did tonight's show. Sorry for the late notice, too. Sort of like a late upload, if you will. But I'm glad I did this show. And I do love you guys. You guys are all amazing. I appreciate your guys' support. Final question I'll ask here, and I'm glad you asked, actually. Why isn't Chimezi Metu getting any minutes or any play lately? I wish I could really answer this, but I guess the answer I will say is I think Frank Vogel's trusting a little too much in the guys right now. And I'm talking, you know, the Drew Eubankses, the Jordan Goodwins, the Utahs, etc. You know, the guys that we saw tonight. And I even said last live show, Frank Vogel, you need to switch something up. Now, I believe that was before, you know, the game was against the Warriors or whatever. And in this game, you know, so I don't know. I really wish I had an answer, but I want to see what he can do. I guess that's my answer. Let me just rewind. Blah, blah, blah. I want to see what Metu can do. I want to see what Chimezi Metu can do. I want to see, first off, how he looks in the rotation. And I just want the guy to get a chance, because in the little minutes that he has played, he has looked good. The body language has looked good. He's hit shots. He's got good size. So we'll just have to see. I just hope he gets minutes. If we happen to lose a game soon, which I hope we don't, obviously, but you know what's going to happen. We will lose a game. I hope that Frank Vogel switches it up and he plays. All right, guys, for real, this time I'm out of here. I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my night. Again, appreciate you guys. You already know the drill. If it has to deal with the Phoenix Suns, I'm going to make a video about it. Please subscribe, you guys. I'm doing my best to pump out as much Phoenix Suns content as I possibly can. You know, videos, YouTube shorts, reaction videos, live shows, etc. Stay tuned for more content, especially this week. You know, this week I'm definitely going to do my best to pump out as much content as I can. And yes, Harlem Vega, I will be live Sunday night, because we play the Jazz again. So I'll be live after that game. And you guys know me on this channel. Sometimes I collaborate with the Suns Jam Session podcast. And maybe I'll have some guests on and stuff. So just stay tuned for the content. You guys, I appreciate y'all. Have a great night. Stay safe out there. Be patient with people. Be nice to people. You guys are all amazing. God bless you guys. And as always, if it has to deal with the Phoenix Suns, I'm going to make a video about it. Win or lose, Phoenix Suns for life. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out. God bless. And go Suns.
What's up, son?